I'm talking to Ben Lumsdaine today. Ben is a musician currently living in LA, and we're looking at his Bandcamp page, which I should say, by the way, you can speak to this, Ben, but I think these five releases you kind of put out last year in 2025. Is that true?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and if I click here, we can also see that there's you with no hair.
No hair.
And
I
uh,
missed that version of me,
those
actually.
days, well, you can change that within 5 minutes,
It is
basically.
very, it does, it's a quick
That's a
transformation there.
quick transformation. One direction, the other direction takes a long time. Ben's a good friend of mine who I've had the privilege of making some music with. And I believe we first met on a Chris Schlarb project in Joshua Tree. Does that sound right?
Yeah. The Psychic Temple record?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And then it slowly pieced together for me that you are from a Midwest cohort, including a mutual friend who you've known way longer, Jared,
hmm
and Mike Adams, and those guys who I remember kind of connecting with a few years ago when Jared put out an album I made called Weekend Forecast, which is basically Weather Channel music.
hmm
Um,
Yes, Flannel Graph Records.
yes, that's right. Yeah. And so thanks for chatting with me today.
My pleasure.
I'm trying to talk to everybody I have made music with in the last 3 years. I guess that's my concept. And I also feel like I'm just finishing or just starting, but I feel like the last 3 years for me has been a certain kind of like you could fit it into an academic container if you felt like it. Like I feel like I
hmm
just did a thing for 3 years, and it's not overstating it, but I do feel like everybody I played with kind of feels like a teacher of some kind. And
Are you a doctor or you're a master?
I do have my doctorate. Yep.
You have your doctorate. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
this
I can
feels like
perform heart surgery, whatever you want, by the way.
this is yeah, maybe this is like your postdoc.
This is the postdoc. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it fits really well into that like scheme. I wasn't thinking about that while it was happening, but at the end of it I thought about it. And then I have thought about the magic of folks in recording sessions, moving quickly and just learning, like mostly learning what's the word, I guess, not ask. I don't feel like I've been asking a lot of musicians questions during the process,
hmm
but you just learn by being with people and observing behavior. And you are extremely ex- extreme you're really interesting to me because you're like this weird mix of feeling and brain when I think of you. And when I
Oh,
think of your music and also just watching your impulses, maybe because oftentimes when we've played together, we're kind of working fast, which makes impulses a necessary thing. It's like do a thing and we do it. And
yeah.
I've always been fascinated by how you seem to have walked this line between like uh, deeply like technically informed, but that is in service of just impulse and creativity and kind of like the like blast of irreverence or something like this. And then I also hear it in your production too, because I hear it on I love your releases you've put out. I specifically love this real book release you put out where you, if my memory serves, you like mentioned maybe doing like making that as if you would make something in high school or something. Does that track for you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Real Book is, you know, in the jazz world, that's like the big book of like charts,
Yeah.
uh, of like yeah, jazz standards. And so I think
Take
this
me
was
take me right into this project just for fun. Like why did you like where was your head at when you're like I'm going to do five standards in my home
Um,
studio alone.
I think my head was at, well, yeah, I think irreverent is an accurate word in a way, where
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, I have my background is in jazz, like formal jazz training. Um, and these are all standards that are I played kind of wrong. Um, and
Were they played by ear, would you say almost? Like
yeah, they're all played
yeah.
by ear.
Yeah.
They resemble the originals
Yeah.
and in a way. Um, but also, I think also they didn't start out that way. They sort of became the standards. Like I didn't start melodically. Like I think, yeah, it's been a while since I thought about these songs, so I'm not sure I'll be able to remember the process exactly. But I think a lot of it was like, I remember Passion Dance was that way. It was like it started as something else, and then at some point, the melody came out, and I was like, oh, funny, this melody works over this uh, thing I had already been working on.
Yeah.
Um, and
I'm seeing
yeah, I think there was
this.
something. Um, I mean, I was feeling a bit of a yeah. I mean, the jazz stuff is complicated because there is like reverence involved for me, and like there is a certain amount of respect that is owed. Uh, but also, I think maybe I was feeling a little like there was an element of self-deprecation involved with recording those.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in that it's like this is as I'm never gonna I can't play it correctly, so I'll do it my way. Uh,
Yeah. Which, by the way, like it's as you're talking about it, it's like if you really think of some of the like highest esteemed versions of standards by people, whether it's, I mean, by many, many people, Sonny Rollins included, like, what's the live? I was just listening to this pretty like early Sonny Rollins live trumpet, sax, bass, drums live at the Vanguard, maybe, and they're doing standards, but it's like pretty free.
mhm.
My point being that like playing them right is one thing, and then playing them with a big rubber band and like stretching it all out is another form of like
Yeah,
of really having an esteem for a tradition. But the line you seem to walk with this is like playing with both those ideas of like irreverence and reverence or something. Like it's very much in the tradition to stretch a standard out
yeah,
and mess with it.
yeah. I also think there was an element of the like, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of like internal. Um, I don't know. Some of this is so like jazz school trauma type shit that I don't know what's interesting to talk about and what's not, but like the songs aren't particularly like exotic, deep cut standards or anything. Like they're
No,
pretty
they're
like,
like greatest. They're like the first five songs you learn when you're
yeah,
getting into
exactly. Yeah.
jazz. Yeah, totally.
And so I think there was something about that too for me that was like, I'm not going to do the cool songs. I'm going to do footprints.
But
The
I
one,
think this is why I resonate with it so much is because you're almost walking into like a thousand bear traps with these songs. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
very much way harder to walk into, in my view. Like I think it's almost, I mean, nothing's easy for me when it comes to jazz, but it's maybe easy for a jazz person to walk into a deep cut because
hmm
it's kind of like, hey, everybody, look at this. Not many people know about this, and it's really beautiful.
yeah, yeah,
And then if you play footprints, you're like, hey, everybody knows about this. What's my contribution?
yeah. It's also important, I think, to mention that it's not ironic
Yeah,
either. Like it is like, yeah, these are like some of the first, these are like the greatest hits, you know,
yeah,
or like some of the first songs I remember learning.
yeah.
But it's not like
Ha 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 ha.
it's
Yeah,
not goofy. There's no wink. I mean, the wink is at myself
yeah,
in that it's like I I reduced a lot of the harmony or like I played some of the melodies kind of wrong, but it was also sort of like there is like also an element of that naivety or something that I appreciate and maybe it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I also didn't think too much about it, and
That's what I hear. That's what I
I
hear
also
in the
thought a lot about it, and also didn't think that much about it. Yeah, it's an interesting line to walk, maybe.
That's why I think it's a success. Like when I hear it, you're outlining exactly what resonates with me is because you're like doing it's very you for me for some reason. It's very like walking into a hall of mirrors and like realizing it's like a steep climb and like a big challenge intellectually, potentially. But it's also like you and I have talked about maybe the effects of marijuana, maybe. Um,
I would,
but
can
I'm
say
not.
that had a
I,
little influence on
I'm not
some
going to
individuals.
get, I don't want to get way into that other than to say that, and maybe there's even a more articulate way to say it than just pointing out a recreational drug. I think it's the idea of like, you can set up an intellectual framework that's like filled with like a million popsicle sticks. And then you can also just be like, ugh, like
Yeah,
half the
yeah,
top falls off. But then maybe the design on the ground is like really beautiful. And so suddenly it's like just as complicated, but the way you popped into it was from a like flick of the wrist rather than like a cold calculation. And that's why I love this project.
thanks. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's like music is such a complicated thing in that it's like I mean, I don't know if this resonates with you, but it is like in one way it is like the most important thing in the world, and on the other side of it, it's just music.
Meaningless, basically.
Yeah.
It's like moving air. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Oh,
so I think that that's something that I have to try to keep in mind a lot of times. Like I have to keep both in mind. Like this is an extremely mysterious, powerful thing, and also it's just music.
yeah.
And uh, I think both sides can be helpful at different times. I mean, I'm very um, uh, deeply a perfectionist at my core. And so I think that there's a certain amount of like irreverence I have to try to like work towards actually.
What do you think about the term? I asked somebody else this too, and I'm still searching for a better term, but what do you think about the term or the concept of tricking yourself while you're making music? And what I'm getting at is pretty much what you're talking about. Like, if you know it's deep and you know it's powerful and you know it matters to you more than anything, potentially, sometimes I talk to people or sometimes I hear people talk about tricking themselves to basically behave as if it's different and trick themselves into behaving differently.
Yeah.
A, so they can get a different sound out of themselves. B, so they can mess with their relationship. Do you resonate with the term
Yeah.
tricking yourself
Yeah. Or tricking others.
or other? Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I find that useful in the studio, like if I pretend that I think I'm the world's greatest drummer, you know,
yeah.
uh,
You can
then
play like an imagined greatest drummer.
yeah, like sometimes that actually works. Or like I remember I did a record with my friend Damien a good number of years ago, and I was just playing drums, and I told him ahead of time like I'm giving you the 2 take guarantee. I'll get all these songs, I'll get a perfect take in 2 takes,
Yeah.
and it sort of became like a little like joke. Uh,
But did
that
you do?
like
But did you do it?
yeah, but I did do it.
Yeah. There you go.
Uh,
Yeah.
but it's like a total false bravado. Like I'm not that person. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know. There's something like inspiring about Bernard Purdy putting up a sign that says
Yeah.
"You done hired the hit maker," you
Yeah.
know, and like I'm not that guy at all. But there is like it. Yeah, I mean, some of this also goes back to like yeah, like I said, like I am a perfectionist, and so sometimes just pretending that something's perfect already is enough to like help you move through the process.
Yeah, I guess perfectionists need to trick themselves to finish anything, right? Like in a
Yes.
way. You
Yeah.
do have to come up with a set of tools if you want to like move forward in your life. Otherwise,
Yeah. I mean, I feel,
paralysis
yeah,
sets in.
I, I, yeah, I mean, I've been feeling inspired by you and your work, uh, in that sense. Like, um, y'all write 60 songs and 15 of them are good, you know?
Yeah,
Like just sort of like, or maybe just this sense of like, yeah, I'm recording these songs, they'll be done, and then I'll work on some more songs instead of this sort of like, I need this to be perfect or else, you know?
yeah,
It's this idea of like I'm gonna do more. So like this is what it is, and then the next thing will be what that is. And
yeah.
like
The
I
diary, the kind of like diary entry or artist sketchbook thing.
yeah,
I do think there's always going to be the other side, no matter what. There's always going to be the person out there who sculpted the set of 10 songs that is truly great, and they
yeah,
sculpted it for a year and a half, and like that model, and like they sweat and they, toiled and suffered, and in fact the results were some of
worth
the
it.
best music ever made or whatever. But I do think it almost comes to, I've been thinking a lot about like also just like the experience of doing the thing in general, and
Yes.
everyone's going to be in a different roll with that. Some people make their living on it, some people don't, blah 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 blah. But it still comes down to like, what's the experience of doing the thing? And if the experience is like you lift your head up at the end and it was just pretty much terrible,
Yeah.
with a sprinkling of like, okay, like how
No, I
often are
think
you
that
going to do
that's
that?
I think that's like really crucial actually, because especially right now, it's like you there is no like it's so bleak,
Yeah,
like the music landscape and like the possibility for like any sort of like whatever result you're looking for, attention or like financial gain or something, that like really I do think the thing that is so important is like what it is, how are you feeling while you're doing it? Because like what happens after is not, you have no control over at all. And like you can slave over this thing for years, and then what happens when nobody hears it, you know? Like I do think that, and I think about that a lot when I'm like working with other people too. Like if I'm producing a record for somebody or whatever, I'm really like, the thing that really is important to me is like that the people I'm working with are like having a meaningful experience in the moment, like even more so than like making. I mean, obviously, there's like I want them to be proud of the end result, but that's almost like a given at some point, you know, like when you're good at what you're doing, it's sort of like I know the result's going to be good. Like I'm not going to let it be bad.
yeah. The level, the
Uh,
standard, the like quality control is already here.
yeah. So then it's like the quality controlling the experience actually feels like it becomes more important to me. Like making sure that nobody's like being like bummed out while we're working on something, or like trying to mitigate some of the stress that happens when people are second guessing themselves, or like,
Yeah,
you know, yeah,
and that's the power that the producer has, I guess. Like I haven't worked with a producer as such where I'm like 100% putting my like my soul into their hands or whatever, like that kind of feeling. But I
yeah,
do feel like what I've learned along the way in these last few years is feeling like every musician on any song with me, since they have the ability to express themselves on the songs or whatever, like that they are kind of like we're all I mean, it's weird to say, but we're all producing it together, obviously.
yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the way you work. Yeah,
Yeah, but that's a great learning experience because it's like, well, then we are all. I keep thinking about extreme sports these days, none of which I really do, but the way like intense skiers work, or rock climbers, or surfers, or people who like go out into a wild natural situation where there are a lot of stakes, by the way, like somebody could die,
hmm
blah 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 blah. There is a resonance to me with like making the music in a certain way, and I do think jazz or versions of communal music making even if there's a CEO, at least like if it feels like everybody's allowed to express themselves, it's very similar to that, my impression of those worlds. Do you know what I'm saying? Where it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the stakes are high. And in a studio environment, the stakes are high because like money and blah, blah, you know? So there's sort of like these high stakes mixed with like a group effort, mixed with momentum, mixed with like forward motion, mixed with inspiration. And then like at the end of it, yeah, I guess that's what I've been thinking about. Is like that was the point of doing it. Was like that was such a fun like run down this hill together, and
Yeah, I mean,
we all survived. I don't know. Extreme sports is kind of a shitty like.
no, no, it's not because it is also like it's not because like you start at the bottom of the hill,
Right.
you go to the top, and then you end up back at the bottom. So like really,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you haven't accomplished anything. The
And
only thing you
that's
accomplished was going down the mountain.
very music, right? It's like
Yeah,
we did another song, and like and if you really want to get pure about it, maybe it is a good metaphor. If you really want to get pure about it, like nobody cares. Like nobody, like
yeah.
if we
No,
really did it,
you start on the beach, you swim out, you catch the wave, you end up back at the beach. Like you
and
didn't
if
actually go
and
anywhere.
if we really love surfing, we're not even professionals. We're just like, I mean, we have to behave. I guess probably the best professional surfers have to behave like they're not professional surfers, obviously, right?
Well, sometimes you also don't. Sometimes there's no waves,
And that too, yeah, yeah,
which is also like sometimes you don't catch the wave.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I think this is a fine analogy.
I think it's an okay analogy. Okay, thanks. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Next time we see each other, we'll both be wearing like X Games gear and stuff. There's a Monster Drink poster behind you.
I mean, if there's a check involved, why
If
not?
there's a, yeah, yeah. Here's something I've been thinking about, because I often think about like maybe what, how I related to music as a younger person and how I'm relating to it now, and then also maybe how I want to be. What's like a thread you see in your behavior with music that you really appreciate? Like you can
Oh
like
gosh.
like you can be thinking about maybe like the way you, and it could either be like musical or maybe psychological. Like I'm basically forcing you to say something positive about yourself.
Yeah, that's very cruel of
I
you.
know, thanks. Because it's way easier
Um,
to probably say, what would you change about what you were like when you were younger? That's
what's
not my
something I
attitude.
appreciate about what's something I appreciate about what's the question?
Let me think
That's
through it
so
again.
crazy. I was trying to think about you are asking me to say something nice about myself, so I just blacked out.
I think our connection just totally broke up.
Yeah.
Let me say it a little bit clearer. I do think so. Let's not even frame it like saying something nice about yourself. Let's treat it more like researchy or intellectually, which would be, yeah, unfortunately it just has to be kind of saying something nice about yourself. But like, what do you think? Yeah, what's something, I mean, let me give you an example for myself.
Okay.
And I'll try, I'm not complimenting myself. I'm trying to look at my relationship with music as a human being, and I'm trying to find a through line. So when I was in high school, I like came to guitar and writing music, and I'd come up with these little songs that felt like they were like little pastoral kind of, like I was in California and strumming my guitar, and like I'd like be looking at a tree and like strum chords that
Hmm.
conjured up a situation. And so I guess that's like a pastoral kind of attitude if you're in classical music. Or it's new age, by the way. Like it's totally like a new age kind of vibe to write an album called December. And I still feel that as a person with music. Like I still feel like I'm maybe trying to conjure up a landscape or a like mental landscape or a like relationship with like place. And I don't think
Hmm.
I'm doing a very good job at it all the time, but I do see that that's like a through line in my interest that I'm not mad about and that I'm not ashamed of and that I don't want to get rid of. And so
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
here's really the crux of my question is like we could say 1,000 things we want to shed as people. We could talk
Yeah.
about 1,000 things that we want to like move away from. And then we could talk about the things we want to move toward, which I want to talk about. But
Well,
I
I'll
wonder,
talk. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think, yeah, I have. I guess I have. Yeah, the thing that
it's
is
more my
coming.
question is like, what's your research interest? If you want to
Well,
be
yeah. So this
academic.
is this is an interesting problem for me in a way. Actually, is that it feels like it's so many things, and it's always been so many things that I've felt like that has been not okay at times. Like I need to pick one thing, you know? And in some ways, like playing the drums is like my one thing, like that's my first instrument and the thing that I studied in college and the only thing I've taken lessons for. And like,
Yeah, you like planted your flag the hardest for that
yeah, it's like
publicly.
I
Yeah,
identify as a drummer,
yeah,
you know? Uh, but I also don't. And like, I, I worked very hard to learn a lot about audio engineering and music production and spent like I mean that was like my post college experience was like
that was like your second degree, but just not in the
yeah like
program, more like on the
7
ground. Yeah,
years
yeah,
of
yeah,
like only thinking about audio basically. But then the flip side of that was that I felt very guilty about not practicing the drums as much, um, but I also like I played guitar since I was like 13 too, and I like playing guitar in rock bands. And so like, how does that square with being a serious jazz drummer? Um, and
yeah.
then how does my interest in like country music?
Inform your jazz drummerness. Like
Yeah, I mean, like
master, is
honestly,
it the master of none thing a little bit? Like
I think so.
feeling
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes?
yeah, certainly. Because I do wonder sometimes if that's I mean, I have some baggage with that of like, if you want to be a serious jazz musician, you have to devote your whole life to that and exclusively that. And I think maybe at this point now I've like reconciled that I'm just like, that's actually not all signs are pointing to me to like that not being what I want to do anyways. And so maybe
Yeah.
it's okay for me not to just be like a straight ahead jazz drummer in New York because I've never been that and have never tried to do that. So maybe that's not what I want actually. Um, but yeah, I think that's actually maybe something that I've come to appreciate more actually is like, oh, I like that I have all these interests and I like that I have a diverse set of skills. Um, and I like I like learning stuff and um, it's nice to feel like there's like an endless road to travel on that path,
Yeah.
of like, oh, right now I'm into synths. So like let me learn a lot about synths.
Yeah.
And like right now um I'm thinking about getting into like coding. Maybe I'll learn how to code an instrument. And
Yeah.
it's like that doesn't really relate at all to like jazz drumming,
Yeah.
but like I don't know. It's all music. I think that's something that I can comfort myself with in some way. It's like, I mean, I do think like learning how to make records has made me a better drummer. Like
Absolutely.
recording other drummers certainly has helped me learn like what to do and not to do in a studio. And like, um, I also think that being a studio musician first helped me be a better recording engineer. Like being on the other side of the glass for many years and then being in the engineer role was like, oh, I know what's helpful and not helpful, like as
Hmm.
an engineer. Um, and like, yeah, I don't know. Does that answer the question?
It does answer the question. It's so funny because on the outside, like the narrative of like master of none or whatever, right? Or like a narrative, which I think jazz is so like shamanic or like so like the mythos of jazz is like you climb to the top of the mountain and burn your drum set and like you sacrifice your body for your drum set and like
Yeah.
you are your drum set, or you are your guitar. Like I was talking to somebody recently and like I worked at being a jazz guitar player for like I really tried to work at it like my senior year of high school and then 3 of my 4 years in college. So I kind of was like really into it for 4 years. And then I fell into maybe thinking about songwriting. So I was like 21 when I was like, maybe I'm getting off the jazz train a little bit. But check this out. Like when I was like 43 or 4 in the midst of the pandemic or whatever, I was like metaphorically standing on top of a mountain with a burning guitar going like, I don't want to be a jazz guitar player. And it took me 21 years to like burn up that like narrative, which I just find intense, because I walked around for 20 years after I like stepped off the train. I still walked around going like, I should practice this summer. You know what I mean? Like I should really, you know, like get it together.
No, I know.
And
It's
so
wild, dude. Because I know exactly the feeling of just like, man, I haven't been working on my comping, dude.
Yeah.
It's like been like a decade since I've worked on my comping. I really got to get my comping together.
Yeah. I got to get that gig. And like, anyway, all this to say, like, when you talk about the stuff you're into on the outside perspective, like I can relate to the journey, the sort of jazz guilt hangover journey, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. But it's pretty amazing to lift your head up out of that storybook and sort of be like, oh, this isn't the book I need to read. And in fact, the book I do read, or the book I'm really into, is like this sort of like wild, unwritten, like there aren't models, like the kind of stuff you're into, like the fact that you're truly into country music or truly into engineering and synths and drummers. Like you don't there's not a pre-existing book for that in the way that there is for the jazz drummer.
Yeah.
And I do think a beautiful part about music, the irony about music, is that we all worship people who seem to have written their own book, maybe. Right. Like in a way, like we all get obsessed with like a band that seems to have arrived out of the ether, and a musician's approach to the drums and whatever. It's like the pillars of art sometimes seem to be these people that like wrote their own book.
Yeah, but who also often probably were rejected by their community for a time, you know? Like, I mean, I think about like Elvin Jones.
Yeah.
Who, you could say rewrote the book on jazz drumming.
Yeah.
Like had a hard time. No one wanted to, his shit was too wild for like most people until he got in with Train, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like, and then suddenly everyone sounds like Elvin Jones, you know? But like, I think that I think there's something true to that actually. Yeah.
So like leaning into that, like the feeling of leaning into it. I also have been listening to The Bridge by Sonny Rollins before he passed away recently. And then I've been always struck by his sort of like, I mean, he's like a very weird dude, very weird player. Like I have never like, I remember like really, you know, the first you get your Saxophone Colossus record when you're little and you're like, I'm supposed to listen to this. And I like did. And I was like, I don't know what to do.
No, he's weird. Yeah.
With this person, you know what I mean? And it's an amazing thing he's doing because he seems to just be like on his own. He's just on his own trip.
Yeah.
You know? And like very unpredictable.
Yeah.
And constantly surprising. Like usually you put on a record. I have that CD in my car, and so CDs in cars go over and over, and you like. And he's one musician where it's like you're back to track one, and you're like, what is happening? Like I heard it last week when I was driving, and like, again, what is happening? Like, how are you doing this? Inspiring. Anyway, all this to say, I think it's a cool practice to think about these common threads that we can track in our behavior, and it makes me feel like I can grow old in peace rather than grow old with this like tragic narrative that's always gonna like bind up my you know, I don't know, whatever.
I mean, it also kind of goes back to, you know, skiing down the mountain. It's like you just gotta make sure you're having fun while you're skiing down the mountain.
Yeah. And so on the tip of this question, like I do find myself thinking like, where do I want to go toward. Like if this was back there and what I used to be like and the narrative I had, and then figuring it out now, like where am I wanting to move toward? And I could tell you mine, and then I want to know yours, kind of like what comes to mind. This is not very pre-thought, other than what I keep finding myself wanting to think about is moving toward like playing. I guess it's pretty simple for me, like moving toward playing with more confidence alone. I don't have as much trouble playing with confidence if I'm surrounded by people that are like confidently proclaiming stuff. Very similar to the ski thing again, right? If you're skiing down the mountain with like a bunch of people that are making decisions,
Yeah.
you're going to like follow sometimes or go alongside, but it's easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then being alone, you have to conjure it up and trick yourself, which I feel like you're really good at, but I don't know what comes to mind when you think about where you.
Well, I feel like I like I mean, I have so many friends that do solo performances, and
Yeah.
that's like a thing that has I've done a handful of times and have hated it and been terrified.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, so I resonate with that. It would be I feel like that's an interesting that's an interesting thing to try to develop, maybe some like confidence performing like in some sort of solo context. Like it's easy to make solo records because it's not really it's a band.
Yeah.
It's just a fake band.
Was this a solo? Was this record
Yeah.
a solo? Is this a one take thing or are you overdubbing?
These are all one take things. Just
Yeah.
like I wish I had a picture of the setup. It was just like a bunch of little tiny things
Yeah.
that I was playing with chopsticks or something, through some like pitch pedals and stuff. So I thought it sounded mysterious and interesting.
Is this not your Tama? Don't you have a Tama?
No, these are all real.
These are real. Okay.
Yeah. Real,
Oh, man.
like tiny little percussive things. Yeah.
And have you done a set like this before? Didn't you do a set with the solo
No.
stuff you've done? No. Okay.
Never. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Some of it's just like technically difficult to amplify percussion instruments
Yeah.
effectively,
Yeah.
without getting like feedback problems and like that kind of stuff. I mean, that's like unfortunately that is like something that I is like a technical barrier. Is like I have been trying to figure out like how to process drums and stuff in a live context without it going poorly.
Yeah.
Because like even like piezo mics and stuff on toms or whatever like will start resonating with the monitors and feedback and stuff and
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's also something that I do sort of I also just maybe need to accept that maybe I don't like playing solo and that what I actually like is playing with other people, and maybe it's okay to not my friends can have compelling solo sets and maybe I don't need to do that.
Yeah. That's the other thing I've been thinking about with where I want to head. Sometimes there's these buckets you can put stuff in that feel like if I was a badass, I would be able to do this. Kind of this feeling of like, am I tough enough to do the hard thing?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then like but what I think is beautiful in my mind these days, and I hear it so much in your playing, which I do think it's like you can maybe doing both is cool, which is like you set up this course. I keep thinking about, and again, I don't like the word trick and I don't like the word game, but they're the best I can come up with, where you like gamify a situation or you trick yourself into blah, blah, blah. We should work on new words for these things. But if you set up a course for yourself that's deeply technical and challenging, like playing solo or something, playing a solo set, but then halfway through your solo set, somebody else comes and joins you on stage, then you get to do a both.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it would be, because I like what you just said. Like maybe you need to accept that you actually don't. That it's not like you have to play a solo set.
No, I don't. Yeah. And like in some ways it's like why would I when I could play with another great musician?
Which is really fun to play with someone else.
And usually like more interesting to me. because like
rather than a head trip of sitting
I'm
alone on
kind,
stage.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, yeah, I mean, I, 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 I understand what you mean of like, yeah, I should be able to do the hard thing, you know, but like, why? Like, says who,
Yeah.
you know, like who am I trying to impress?
Right.
Myself, maybe, uh, or like some perceived other who is like expecting me to do this thing. I don't know.
Are you a competitive person? I'll take that as a yes. No, just kidding. No. Are you, yeah, do you identify as a pretty competitive person? Like when you like look at your, I also think with this question,
That's a great question. I mean,
yeah,
it's like, I mean, yes, yes, and no.
yeah,
Yes, in that, well, yeah. I mean, I don't even really know what competition in music really means. I mean,
right,
there's like plenty of like quantifiable
right,
measurements, like in which I'm failing at. So I shouldn't be competitive if we're talking like record sales or like
right.
social media followers or something, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, I mean, I think that I get envious of others sometimes. But
Like,
that's not
like
really competitive.
envious, like
Like,
about musical things they've made or
no,
envious about
envious
like
of like,
business stuff. Yeah.
and yeah, envious of like, oh, this guy's rich and has cooler stuff than me,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or like this person has the gig that I want.
Right.
Um, but um, competitive would be like, oh, this person is doing something cool. I'm gonna try to do this thing better than them. Like that. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's maybe more what I mean. Yeah, like has that played in your life? Like, yeah, business aside, like forget business and think more about like it's like Beatles Beach Boys stuff, even though that was business and pleasure. But like
Yeah.
I often think of that as a good forget the
Um,
business and it just feels like
yeah,
a
yeah,
it's like here's a crazy band doing a thing and this band's like, wait, what? And then they're like,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like
Um, yeah, I want to say yes, but I don't know. I can't point exactly to how that has had an impact in my life. Beyond like, I mean, I guess maybe it. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there can be some sort of like inspirational spark there
yeah,
sometimes of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this too, you know,
yeah,
and then inevitably you do it differently,
right.
you know. It's like the Beach Boys don't sound like the Beatles,
No.
you know, and even if there was a competitive thing, it's like if anything, it just like added energy to the thing they were already heading towards, you know.
That's the beautiful part of competition to me, if done right. It's kind of
Yeah,
like it's like you recognize somebody else's spark and you let that spark push you. And
yeah,
ideally, but hardest balance of all would be I'm just going to keep going with the skiing because it's fun. It's like you look over to your right while you're going down the mountain and somebody does this thing. And what it does to you is it inspires you to go over here and you do something else, but you wouldn't have done it unless you saw that person do that thing, right? They did a
yeah,
backflip and then you go over here and do a front flip or
yeah.
whatever. Whatever.
Well, yeah, because there's also a certain thing of like, oh, well, this person already did the backflip, so what am I going to do? A backflip? Like
Yeah.
they just
There's
did the
also that. That's
so
right.
now I got to think of something else to do, you know?
Yeah.
Like I can't just do a backflip. I'll do two backflips. Or
That's
like,
right.
yeah. Yeah, so competition is interesting. Yeah.
I kind
Uh,
of want to admit I'm kind of in a phase of life where like I'm totally competitive, like, and I think I've done stuff to myself to so deeply pretend that I'm not that I've thought I wasn't competitive. You know what I mean? It's like being younger and just being like I'm not competitive at all, but it was like all just a big elaborate ploy to like not admit how much I was
yeah.
dying inside because somebody was
I mean, but yeah, competitiveness I also feel like is born out of some insecurity too, right?
yeah. So
Of
being
like
play
they did a backflip. What if I can't do a backflip?
yeah,
You know?
it's a young person's game. I think it's a young person's game and a young person's word maybe, and it also feels as I get older I look at somebody who's like deeply competitive and it seems young. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
feels immature. But I will say, here's a good example. I've watched my son like climb at a climbing gym a little bit. And he tried to go up this little quick little thing and he wanted me to time him, right? He's like really into like, so I like timed him and it was like 14 seconds or whatever it was. It was very just a little thing. And then this kid who's older and better and faster did it and they raced up and the kid like did it in half the time. But my son shaved off 3 seconds.
Hmm.
So my son lost, but he
But
won.
got better
But
on
he
the way.
won. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so like I like the idea of now maybe playfully holding competition in my mind, or something, and just being like, this person did this and therefore like their expenditure of energy was like a blast that
Yeah.
I'm down to like let that help me do something.
Well, I also think that it's worth, I mean, I think that this is also something that happens as you get older too, or like more solid in the thing that you're doing is like, uh, I mean, I can just talk about the drums or something. It's like, I, yeah, like, okay, I can watch someone do a backflip, which is like, okay, I can watch someone do like some crazy chop shit on the drums.
Right.
And, and all I can say, oh, I actually don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like I
Like
actually,
honestly
yeah.
admit that or whatever. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
like okay, I'm sure I could learn how to do this,
That's
but
right.
like I actually don't. This isn't what I want to do, you know.
That's
And
right.
so I think that I think the competitive thing, yeah, it illuminates something for me in that. Like, yeah, like
It's a dare. It's kind of a dare to like it like forces the
yeah,
issue about what you care about in a cool way,
yeah,
because the backflip person, like you could just go right down the mountain and like and have style, and like you can't really rate style in the same
yeah.
way that like air time and like height and whatever, like style is just style, but style is beautiful.
I
And
mean, yeah, like skateboarding is like a good example of that, probably.
that's right.
Like, yeah, you can hit the 900, or you can Rodney Mullins some like handstand shit, and like I don't know.
One is not better than the other
No,
necessarily.
yeah.
That's right.
Uh, and yeah, style, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, skateboarding is a great example. Like, you can hit a huge kickflip, or you can execute a beautiful kickflip,
Yeah.
you know? And like, there's both are exciting, but maybe one takes a little more uh, maturity to recognize or something, or a little more experience to like I'm not a skateboarder. So I'm more impressed by somebody doing something dramatic than I am by by somebody doing something like stylistically beautiful.
And that's a good metaphor for music, right? Because you can hear music that's like looking at a meme, it's like, holy crap.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it might fade away in 5 seconds in your brain, or you like see this stylistic, understated thing with deep complexity, and you're like, it's not fireworks in the beginning, but then it resonates with you for the rest of your life or something like this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Charlie Hayden.
yeah. I was thinking about Paul Motion.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, like
These
wow,
are the,
this guy can hit two drums in a four measure phrase, and it's just like
it
what?
means, yeah,
you
yeah,
know, versus like somebody going
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's just like wow, that's like impressive, but also like I can tell you practice that,
Yeah, it was like a
and like
rehearsal.
that's
Yeah.
like yeah, like that's a different thing to me. Like oh, you executed the thing that you practiced.
That's why Sonny Rollins is maybe what I'm talking about. It's almost so confusing because I actually can't. I kind of hear him just like making music, and I can't really hear him. I mean, I'm sure younger recordings maybe or whatever, but my general impression of him is not. Oh wow, you practiced that, didn't you, or something?
Yeah,
My general
yeah,
impression is just like a display of what he cares about or something. It's wild.
yeah, yeah,
Very cool.
yeah. The sports analogy is interesting also because like athleticism and music is something that really turns me off.
totally.
Like
Yeah.
when somebody is like really like muscular and like
I
shredding.
remember, I do remember coming across Bill Frisell at a good time in my life when I was much younger, and I was not as athletic on guitar as some close peers, and I was so jealous and sad. I would like, my mom reminded me of this. I mean, I truly in high school would come home crying just about not being fast. I mean, that's all it was.
Oh,
It's terrible, you know.
right. Yeah, but
Um,
also like when you're young, you don't have access really yet to the other stuff, you know?
no, you totally don't. But I do remember coming across a Bill Frisell record called maybe called Ghost Town. It's like a solo record, maybe, and he covers a John McLaughlin tune, like some kind of Mahavishnu
Hmm.
thing, but it's like a quarter of the speed and like like slow mode out.
Yeah.
And then I even read some interview with him, which was the gist was just like he basically said the same. He's like, I used to beat myself up because I wasn't as fast as all these people, and like I love John McLaughlin and I suck, and who am I or something. And then he's like, well, actually, like this is just what I hear and what I do, and this is
Yeah.
coming from a guy who's just been able to say what he wants to say musically. So I don't know. I don't know why it's on my brain so much these days as an impending part of the geriatric community of San Luis Obispo, as the mayor of Old Person Town. But it's on my mind thinking about the play of youthful behavior and the play of like mature behavior. But I also love, and again I hear this in your music, and I also love this when I think about bands like and artists like Sonny Rollins, but also like the Meat Puppets, or maybe like music that's like kind of just its own thing.
Yeah.
It often, and maybe that's just my like watermark or something, is like I like the idea of music that's like a holistic kind of like pretty mature situation, but also just like playful and in touch with like fallibility and just being a human being, but
Yeah.
also pretty like, but also pretty complicated and also
I mean that,
pretty
yeah.
intense. You know, it's like,
That the real book record we've been discussing. I mean that there was an element of that for me.
yeah,
It's like, what if I was a high schooler playing these songs and
yeah.
like was just excited about it?
But you can't. But the beautiful part about it, and this is why I like it. Maybe this is your magnum opus so far, is the real book.
That would be funny to me.
I couldn't tell if that was a joke, but maybe what I'm actually getting at is maybe that's a very very pure statement, like one of many pure musical statements from you, which is to say that like you are playing with like you're playing with so many like things at once, because you could say the trick you played was like, what if I was a high schooler, but like you're not and you
Yeah.
can't be,
Yeah.
and so you played it like you played it like an adult, but you like inhabited a bunch of things all at once.
Yeah, but the trick I pulled was like I'm tricking myself into feeling like it's okay for me to not do this accurately or like not
Yeah,
like yeah, I don't know. It's a yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful experiment, I guess, is like what I'm saying, is like
Yeah.
I
Thanks.
think performing experiments as musicians, and like almost like from a scientific point of view, like what will happen if I combine these elements with these beakers and Bunsen burners, like what will happen. And in a way, when you begin to do these things, like any result can possibly be great. Like you blow up the lab, or like you have, or you make something that tastes good, or like anything
Yeah.
in
I mean, I
between.
think yeah, I
Yeah.
think the experiment was like what if I can do a dumb version of this that's good,
Yeah.
you know? Like instead of just a dumb version that's bad. Like what if I can do a funk version of Footprints that doesn't suck, you
There you
know?
go. Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
you're building that's such a like tight like canyon to ski down. You know what I'm saying? Like
But that's also like, that's also coming from like I like rock music and like I like
yeah,
punk shit. And there's a lot of that that's like, okay, this is like a dumb version of rock, but it's good,
yeah,
you know? And like
yeah,
uh
yeah.
like I don't know. Yeah. Like there is like dumb is like that's not even, you know what I mean? That I don't mean like dumb.
It's
I
not
guess
a fair word. It's more like I mean, simple.
simple or like
Also,
unintellectualized or
not
something.
over. Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Like natural, not overwrought, not over
Yeah.
intellectualized. Like,
But like also like intellectualizing is also sort of, I mean, maybe this is a little too postmodern or something, but that's also like somewhat up to the audience. Because like I was
sure.
like I was gonna say like, okay, well the Velvet Underground's not like intellectualized, but also like you could.
People have, well, yeah, and people have, and people
Yeah.
do. People take that. That's a really good example. I always think about that band. Like, that band has been subjected to more like post analysis than anything anyone ever thought about. Like, it was an art
Yeah.
project. It also sort of sounds like dumb rock.
Yeah.
It's also deeply intellectual. Like, they wrote a line that makes for good, a
Yeah.
long lasting tonic or whatever. But
And it's also like, yeah, calling anything simple or dumb is sort of like a challenge to me to like, well then you try, you know?
that's right.
It's sort of like, I don't know, yeah, I mean like the classic like my toddler could paint this. It's like,
Yeah.
well, but they no they can't.
Yeah. They didn't and they don't.
They
Yeah.
they didn't and they won't.
Yeah.
And like to say it's like
That's right.
to say it's like dumb to write a one chord song is like, well then you do it and
That's right.
have anyone care about it. Like,
That's right.
it's actually not easy.
Yeah, I do think one of the things you end up wrestling with as a person who did any musical training is to begin to like deal with all of the things in your toolbox. And like,
Hmm.
I've been thinking lately about simultaneously, like, you can't pretend you don't have a toolbox with tools. Like, you have it, and like, once you have that knowledge, people can say like, learn the real rules then break them, or unlearn whatever you've learned. But like, I also don't believe in that. Like, you can't forget all of the tools that are like on your tool belt, but you can
Yeah.
begin to make choices about it. It becomes much more about like choices about how you use your tools, when you use your tools, and like, but I'm a fan of kind of like admitting. I've always thought about this in writing. I used to feel, and I remember people commenting on my music to me sometimes, like, sort of like, oh, it's kind of quirky. I'd be like, I hate you, whatever.
Oh my God.
Or
I
like
know.
saying these types of things where there's just like a left turn, and like, and what I'm realizing slowly over time is like, if your impulse is to do left turns in your music, then have at it, but like, make the left turn as like natural as possible. It's not like a party trick. It's not a thing, but if it's part of
Yeah.
who you are, then you will do a left turn, and it's not really up for like, it's not, it's like, it's just the tool you grab and you like adjusted the thing, and like, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Kind of.
Yeah. It's also like maybe it's not a left turn for you. It's a left turn for the person who's listening.
There
But
we
for you,
go.
it's like
That's a good,
this is what makes sense to me.
there we
You know?
go. That's probably a good way to put it.
Yeah. Like I doubt like
That's a good way to put it.
yeah. Uh yeah, I mean I also think like the more you learn about like any other kind of art form, the easier it is to sort of like justify some of this stuff too. Like um
Film or painting or writing or something
yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
Architecture. Totally. Yeah, it's actually way more helpful. If I could go back with a musical education, I would, or if I could design a program, I would like, all the kids would take a art history class and a, what I mean,
Right?
architecture and a film studies class or
I
something.
mean, I feel like you can learn as much, yeah, you can learn as much or more about composing from
Yeah,
a literature class than you can in a music class.
yeah,
Or at least just learn that like everything has similar uh principles.
totally. Yeah,
Yeah. Like I was taking this class on Nabokov at the same time I was taking my like final music theory class, and like like both classes were dealing with like structural composition in this like almost the same way of like there's these like neoclassical composers that are like extracting forms from like these three note motifs. It's like this motif is found in the melody, it's found in the chord structure, it's found in the movement structure, and then Nabokov is I can flexible with his pronunciation.
Oh yeah.
But it's like here's a visual theme that
Right.
is found then in the theme of the chapter, which is then found in the theme of the book. And
Yeah.
it's like, and then you just discover all these little patterns that are repeating throughout all of it, and like I don't know, that was an interesting moment for me of just like, oh, everything's the same, and
That's
like
really inspiring.
yeah,
Yeah. I like any kind of structural inspiration from a different medium. It also, whenever I get deeper into filmmakers too, I'm struck by like the chaos, like the controlled chaos of what it seems like a lot of filmmakers are doing. Not everybody, I guess, but like that oftentimes the source material might not be as good as like the film ends up being, or any number of chaotic elements that get then synthesized into like a classic film or something.
yeah,
And it does make me sort of think of an album or a record or a recording session, even where you can like. That's why I think I'm obsessed with trying to move fast, maybe also both creating on my own, but then recording, is because maybe the beauty of moving quickly is that you just can't go down some boring tangents.
yeah. I think moving quickly is helpful for me also.
Like not too
To,
quickly, but
no, but
pretty
there's like
darn quickly. Yeah.
it defeats perfectionism also
Yeah.
for me in a way
Yeah.
of just like and just like this lack of trust that I can find myself having with myself of just
Yeah.
like, oh, what if this isn't good enough? It's like, well, at one point we thought it was good enough, so let's just believe that.
I remember hearing Steven Spielberg used to like he'd made like every movie he just known for, and then it was in the '90s, and he was going to make whatever he was going to make next, which was probably also some big hit, and he just pulled over and threw up because he was so wigged out and nervous. And it kind of hit me like, if you give yourself enough time and enough space to reflect on a thing, you can pull over and throw up. But if
Yeah,
you don't, you could just keep going and like follow your impulse, So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I I I I feel I like that idea of just like there's going to be a next thing, and so
yeah,
you just should finish this thing
yeah,
so that you can see what the next thing's going to be.
yeah.
Uh,
That's
with like also like paying the due respect and time that you're doing on the like you shouldn't rush, but I think that there is like I can get caught up with like revisit. I mean, I have before too of like
yeah,
revisiting the same thing over and over again, and then eventually you just sort of like drain the life out of it. And at that point, like what's the point?
yeah. That's right. That's right.
Like especially if you're making yourself miserable while you're working on it. Like I the like yeah, I don't yeah, you have to enjoy the ski down
Yeah,
the mountain.
I like our sports metaphor.
Yeah.
Man, well, it's good to talk to you. Anything else we um should or shouldn't cover?
I don't think
Anything
so.
that's on your mind these days? You're rehearsing, and you were saying before I started recording, you're rehearsing on the East Coast with a band called
Sylvan Esso.
Yeah, and you're about to play dates and stuff.
Yeah, took a little giggy. Yeah,
Nice. Is it
yeah,
nice to be out of your studio and rehearsing and playing music with people?
yeah. It is nice, and they have a beautiful compound out here with like a big studio and
Okay.
comfortable lodging and beautiful woods around. And yeah, it feels like a band camp retreat.
Dude, that's great.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Well, you're one of my favorite musicians to play music with, and
Well, same, man.
I'm glad we could talk on the internet together.
Yeah, it's nice to see it.
Yeah. I'm gonna stop recording right now.
What's this going to be? A podcast?